Hey everybody, it's Nevan again, here with the second game against a dude in the Lords of Middle-earth tournament, round 2. I will be Shadow this game. He's Free People. Interestingly enough, I realized in our last game, he didn't actually muster any of the Lords of Middle-earth minions, or lesser minions. So, that's relevant because he puts the Grey Wanderer as the guide, which you don't see very often at all. So I think this tournament for a lot of people is kind of like they don't play it as often, so they kind of fall into old habits. I just thought that was an interesting observation. Not saying he played wrong, just sometimes it's just you autopilot, just Black Captain, Saruman turn 1, and just go for it. Some people even put Sauron the War turn 1, which I find interesting. We'll see how this game goes. So I drew Return to Valinor and Orc Patrol. Really, really good cards. Happy to have a Strife and happy to have a Tile Draw. Perfect cycle with the Chief. And he also draws two really good cards. And to me personally, I believe a Power 2 Great is the best Free People card in Lords of Middle-earth. You protect the keepers themselves. You accelerate getting them with the muster. And, when Galadriel is protected, that means Strider is protected. So it's just an amazing card. And we will see how that pays off. So like I said, he's actually rocking the Grey Wanderer, so no Keeper die here. I allocate an eye, roll one more. And he rolls a pretty good turn as well. I realized in my first video, it was obscenely long. Now, I don't want to just do a here's what happens, here's what happens kind of videos. There's plenty of those already out there that are really well done, like Strider 656. He does great videos like that. I guess taking the more traditional analysis approach, so apologies if they're a little long, but I'll try to speed this one up. Okay, so I roll one more eye, he rolls that. Really good roll for him, for sure. I bring Isengard to war, he moves, safe. I do the Barder to Gorgoroth move with a character die. He does ye old, typical Old Forest, Rohan, and then I move them out to the Black Gate, and I go right towards Lorien with Dol Guldur. So, I guess deep down what I'm thinking, Galadriel is such a threat, and he only has one muster this turn. So the threat of going after Lorien early is if they get him 2 from war, you have to put Sauron on the war before you attack. Therefore, if you put Sauron on the war, and then they muster Galadriel, and then you attack them to put them to war, she can put an elite in. So I'm trying to bypass that. Considering he only has one muster, I figure, okay, get in position to completely ignore that situation, which I'm sure, if you remember what card he has, yeah, it's probably not going to work out for me very well. But he moves again. I do get a hit, and I get a 3. So, especially with Grey Wanderer, that's 100% you take it. Notably, if he had the Keeper Gandalf, he would have had some benefit instead of none whatsoever with the old Gandalf. Which is why, the old Gandalf is just not consistent. The Keeper Gandalf has a 1 in 6 chance of doing nothing for you, but the old Gandalf has a 1 in 6 chance of doing something for you per dice. So, and then he has Classic Strider, of course. And I opt to bring in the Witch King. Or, I'm sorry, Balrog, the other winged one. And he musters Gondor. So I actually did kind of put this scenario in my head. I said, listen, if I can get him to panic muster Lorien, the elves, with that one muster, I can potentially go for Gondor if I get the right roll next turn. So he is going for Lorien, or I'm sorry, for elves, which is going to make that whole Galadriel thing happen that I talked about earlier. And then I draw a character card, Captain of Despair. Maybe hot take. I think character cards are far more valuable in Lords of Middle-earth on both sides than strategy cards. Not by much. I mean, they're maybe not more valuable, but maybe they're the same value now. because they're clearly worse in base game than strategy cards. I think with free people, there's more combat effects you can play with Galadriel and Elrond, and there's just really good cards now. And Shadow, Captain of Despair, amazing card, one of the best ones in the game. Very happy to see it already. Very lucky. Second character card in my deck. Okay, he draws There's Another Way and Dane Ironfoot. There's Another Way. Hate to see it early. I got it early in my game too. I feel him. And then I get Give It to Us. There's 2 S's. You have to say it like that. And Return of the Witch King, which is just Swarm of Bats. I think I've used the card effect on that once. I think it was against Ira in a tournament game. Pure desperation. Defending Angmar. Okay, so I allocate an eye, roll 1 more, and he rolls another fantastic roll. He got his will, unfortunately, unless he uses Elrond, which at this moment he can't do. I can deny him Gandalf this turn. Okay, so I consolidate in front of Dimrill Dale. Again, I'm probably going to go through that issue where once I muster Sauron to War, Galadriel, and yeah, he had these 2 musters, but he opts to just play Power to Great, which makes perfect sense. So now I'm in a really bad situation. I sure as hell type in in the chat, because I'm very upset. Yeah, pulling that card in the first 2 turns, turn 1 even more so, wow. So now this giant army is standing outside Dimrill Dale like a bunch of dum-dums. And another reason with the Balrog, so I should probably explain the Balrog situation more. The only reason I did it, I know I'm going for Lorien in a kind of double Lorien-Gondor feint. I also know that Gandalf's dead. So with the very next character move, it'll be step 3, that's potential for Balrog to get his hands dirty. With Strider as guide, that has tons of value. So it was just two things that I got just from mustering him instead of mustering Sauron. And then I muster Sauron to War. A dude brings in Galadriel. Probably didn't need to at the moment. You could probably pass. And then, yeah, I just pivot. So this game's kind of crazy from what I remember. I have very short-term memory. I remember a lot of nonsense in this game with just stuff you don't see very often. I'll admit, when I play Shadow in Lords, I do just have a problem of allocating targets. In base, it's very standard. Just rush do and take that out pretty much 90% of the games. And then you figure out your other points elsewhere depending on how it goes. Like, you're always going to take one stronghold and do pretty much every game in base. Not so much Lords. Rangers of the North is ridiculously strong. And the Elves are just more powerful in general. They're going to be mustered quicker. The Balrog accelerates the Elves too. So the Elves can usually defend themselves more. Woodland Realm, obviously the least, but there's still that potential. Okay, I use a character. I walk into Rohan, activate them. So clearly I'm just pivoting that army words to Rohan. I figure I build it up. I need to use it for something. Nothing else is particularly realistic. I could have marched them to do, I guess. But being in the middle of the board, it just feels like a waste with the Easterlings and potentially my Blackgate army able to go up there in somewhat efficient time. I figure if I got this army, 2 spaces away from entering Rohan, I might as well go for it. And I have the benefit of his West Emnet army still being out in the open. Okay, he moves, he's safe. I attack West Emnet, and I play Swarm of Bats in case he wanted his scouts to Helm's Deep. I figured it's a field battle on, 5 dice. I'm hitting on 5s, and on the 1 dice, I'm hitting on 4s. So I'm expecting, if he didn't play scouts, of course, I'm expecting roughly 2 hits, which would be perfect. Then Helm's Deep's only 2 health. I only get 1, bit unlucky, but he gets 0, so take our wins when we get them. And of course I press, conquer West Emnet, so Rohan's 1 away from war. He moves again, gets hit, and it's a 2. Not a bad tile. And I bring in Saruman, last dice. Okay. So notably, instead of Galadriel, he actually could have brought in Elrond, and that could have let him go last, so it would have denied me Saruman. Some people don't think that's worth it. I can understand that. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes you much rather just know for sure you'll be able to get Gandalf next turn than try to cancel out Saruman on the prior turn. But again, I think Galadriel at the end of the day, that would be the riskier play, because Galadriel did protect Strider from eyes against the Balrog. He gets there and back again and scouts. One turn too late for him. This is the way. And I get breaking and Olokai. Yeah, my hand is definitely stacked. I think both of our games of Shadow, we got really good card draws, and I'm no different. I certainly have amazing cards. Army preservation cards, red tiles, tile draw cards, strife, forward mark, like, it's all there. Allocate an eye, roll no more, and he rolls an eye immediately with Galadriel. But he's not getting Gandalf unless he has Mirror of Galadriel, so at least he doesn't lose the dice. My roll's terrible, so if you remember my last game, I said, like, no matter what you roll, you can usually do something unless it's 4 Palantirs, and here they come a-knocking. Okay, so I start off with... Now, granted, I do have a lot of cards to play, but in a perfect world, I would love for them to get revealed and I can start cycling these character cards, but it's turn 3, they're on 4 movement. I'd rather commit to this military that I'm just standing in the middle of Rohan. I have to do something, and I can't sit here and wait around for the chief, for them to get revealed. It's completely out of my control. So I opt for the Black Captain. 2 games now where Black Captain makes an appearance, not the chief. And then I play Captain of Despair, get that on the table as soon as possible. So here's a mistake. So I play Captain of Despair, and I'm assuming he wants to move with that character, right? No Aragorn is going to happen in this turn. Nothing like that. It's only 2 eyes. You're probably going to move. The moment you see Captain come up, you need to do it right now. So I use a character immediately to move my Blackgate army to kind of northwest, and he passes again. So again, big mistake. Maybe unfamiliar with Lords. Then again, he did play the card in his own game, so I'm assuming he understands the card. Maybe he doesn't know if he wants to move. I mean, against 2 eyes, I don't see why not. You have a Palantir if you wanted to put the blue in. None of these other cards are begging for it to be used. Maybe there and back again. What, 1, 2, 3? He's on 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Yeah, there and back again will work. Which would get you a Dwarven muster and a North muster. But I kind of see this. Excuse me. I kind of see this in my head, and elves are at war, and I'm just like, I really don't want to go up there to the northeast, especially such a long march from the Blackgate. So I opted to just go for Gondor. So there and back again. Maybe he was stalling to know if he wanted to play that, but again, you can play that with a Palantir. You don't need a character for that. So, and yes, he moves. So I end up actually finding him on the 3rd die. So had he moved immediately, I would not have caught him here. I get an eye, which is a 1 reveal. He opts to ignore the Balrog and eat the corruption, so he goes up to Carrock. I can't help but wonder, do you just Galadriel the eye? I think the northern route in this game is completely awful. I don't think you should ever do it. Because it seems like the safer path, but in reality it's so much worse because you can be predictable with your movement. If the Shadow wants rerolls, they will get them, 100%. And there's no, like, what's the term? Contingency. There it is. Contingency plan. Like, you have no stronghold that you can hide in. Sometimes you have those games where you take 6 steps, your whole fellowship's dead, and you're on Golem with 4 corruption. You can't take 4 more steps and climb Mordor with that. You need to go on a stronghold. And yeah, when you're in the north, you're completely out of options. You just have to go, go, go. I play Breaking, draw Smeagol. I'll take it over an eye. Just get him out of here. I let him know that Smeagol goes in. He plays Vile. I play a red. That's what you have to do. When they play a blue, you play a red just to assert dominance. It's all mind games. It's all mental warfare. Okay, he musters Gondor, which is very smart. If you count the die, he's going to be able to muster them 2 war before I get there. So my whole little Blackgate pivot ended up not really benefiting me too much. I reinforced the Rohan army because I have a plan. While he will be able to, while he does put Gondor to war, which kind of screws me up a bit, I am going to try to be as effective as possible when I conquered the 2 realms of men. This is kind of cool because in our last game, it was a straight up do brawl, right? It was elves, men of the north, and the dwarves going at it. This game's the polar opposite. Sauron's going for the free people, like the free people's men in the southwest. Like, a completely different kind of game. It's mostly just me trying to make the elves being at war as useless as possible. Like, make him regret doing that. So, the downside to this is Lorien is in a really central location, and I have 2 empty Shadow Strongholds side by side. That's why I left the Orc there. That way they had to at least commit an attack. But I'm not feeling very good about this. Right? It's really risky. I have no army in the northeast to punish them if they want to leave Woodland Realm and go for an offense. Alright, let me stop rambling. Okay. He draws Smeagol helps Nice Master, Book of Mazobul. Really strong card to draw when Gandalf's not in yet. And I draw Lord of the Elven Rings, which is garbage, and Shadow is moving. So Swarm of Bats. Fantastic combat. So Lord of the Elven Rings, terrible card. The combat's actually quite good, but it's very situational, right? Preferably, you want to use it with Gothmog. Like, that's kind of the purpose, what it was made in mind for, I believe. Gothmog doesn't have many uses. His ability's not great. But what he does bring to the table is a die that's very well done. It's like 2 or 3 army movements, I believe, on the dice. And you can play this card, which is extremely... It's a Deadly Strife on just 5 dice instead of the usual 10. But when you really sit down and think about it, rant time, Deadly Strife has its full value statistically on with only 2 or 3 leadership, right? Because you're expected 2 or 3 hits on the combat. So realistically, you only really need 2 Nazgul to secure the 5. So you're still getting extremely good value not having any leadership at all. Like, you're still getting 3 free hits statistically. My favorite word. Allocate an eye. Roll 1 more. He rolls once again. Great roll. I think our free people rolls have been pretty even. Consistent movement, consistent mustering, which makes for great games. Alright, so he does the Minas Tirith muster. And I go ahead, once again, I'm going to punish him for not moving. Well, he couldn't, but I want to make his movements as hard as possible with Captain of Despair. So I attack Minas Tirith, and notably, I leave an Orc in Druiden Forest. So he passes, and the reason I did that is so I can do an army move for Fold and move a regular into Edoras. So another reason why I buffed up that West Emnet army with Aloghai is because I knew I wanted to do this. Rohan can get very out of control if you do not route them properly. So I'm opting to let him get a free muster in Helm's Deep and then take it. It'll be a bit of a tougher battle, but I'm still confident I can win it, especially with Saruman as support if I need him to. And that way the rest of Rohan just folds, right? So, yep, he musters in Helm's Deep as he should. I use another character dice to attack them, and I leave another Orc in West Emnet. Granted, if I attack forwards, they can't retreat to West Emnet, but I'd rather them not be able to just walk in. Right? They have to at least commit to an attack, which would have to use a character dice this turn, and you wouldn't want to do that as free people. And so far I've added 2 character die to the hunt pool. I attack the Fords first, because if this combat goes terribly, I really don't want to be in one of those situations where those 2 guys can just murder my Witch King. So I attack the Fords. I play Swarm of Bats against his scouts. And I only roll 1 hit. He rolls 2, so that kind of bit me in the butt a little bit. But at least I got them out of there, right? And weirdly enough, he goes to Fangorn, so that's really, really risky. So we'll see. Interestingly, oh yeah, that's right, he has Smeagol, so he hides with the character. So maybe that was his idea, right? It's, I know I'm getting Gandalf the White this turn. I have 1 character. I have to use it to hide, so I'm not even going to move this turn. Which, considering I rolled 2 eyes, is actually really bad for free people. I play Orc Patrol and draw 3. So there goes Smeagol. Always want to play those tile draws when they're hidden. Which, and still, even in that scenario, because had I played that earlier, Smeagol would have died, then he could have used this card draw with Strider to hide himself. Oh, he draws me a card by accident. Oh, and notably I did draw into Day Without Dawn when I cycled with that Swarm of Bats. He draws a card, he draws through a day and a night. I put an Elite into Isengard. Not sure why I did that. Probably not confident in Helm's Deep anymore. It's, what, 8 health against their 5? Yeah, that makes sense. My cards, I mean, I have a Strife, but do I really want to burn it on a not full Stronghold? I might need it for Gondor. Oh, and another thing, like, I technically could have gotten rid of Power Too Great. Would it have much value? No, because Galadriel can just muster when I'm already on her. But more importantly, I didn't want to get rid of a Deadly Strife, as that was the only army card I had at the time. So he brings in Gandalf, and here's the fun part. Extremely risky, definitely a mistake on his end. 100%, because had I had Ring Wraiths Are Abroad, I would 100% try to kill Gandalf right now against that one Rohan. Granted, it's only 1 orc, but I have a feeling he'd probably shine it, right? Because he'd shine it because he doesn't want defense, or he doesn't want offense. He wants defense. He already has a leader, so he's getting his foot. So he's going to shine it. But I could play Deadly Strife, and putting Gandalf's life in the hands of a coin flip, an actual coin flip, ooh, I would have done it had I had the card. So I just opt to draw a character card. Okay, turn 5. He draws Faramir and Axe and Bow. I draw Palantir and Fighting Uruk-hai. He gets rid of there and back again. And Dane Ironfoot. A little odd keeping Dane Ironfoot instead of Book. Or, sorry, the other way around. Yeah, Dane has like a guaranteed effect, right? It essentially accomplishes the same thing unless you want to go on a military offense. However, no companions in the region to be able to do so. Now, granted, Frodo is in Carrock, so he's close to Erebor. So it could have potential value with a Hobbit. Maybe that's what he's thinking. Okay, allocate 1 eye, roll 2 more. And he rolls the fun roll. No movement. And considering he didn't move last turn, yeah, it's definitely slowing him down. However, look at my roll. 3 Palantirs. The curse continues. So, had I just gone, considering I went Black Captain, had I just been getting insane military die, like, this would be one of those base games where it's like, well, I can't do anything as free people, like, it's over. But, luckily, for him, I'm just rolling a bunch of Palantirs. So, he uses a hybrid to move Gandalf out of the way. He even says can't take the risk. Now, funny enough, he moved him right into another orc. And then moves that guy from North Downs to Edmoors. Very odd movement considering North's the furthest away from being remotely relevant at the time. Now he actually undoes this. He says, "Can I change something?" And I say, "Sure." You know, it's a board game, right? Competitive or not, we're here to have fun. So instead of doing that North move, which probably wasn't really valid, he instead moves an elf from Lorien into Parth Celebrant, because that is the only move he can do, right? Because if he goes to East Eminent, then he's still surrounded by 3 orcs. So that's definitely smart. I'm definitely not trying it now. There's no point. I can't get 2 hits in one. Okay, I muster... Right. So I think what he's been thinking this whole time, now that I see his deck, he does have Throughout a Day and a Night. So he was going, while risky, being in Fangorn like that, it could have certainly backfired the last turn. He was ultimately setting up for some shenanigans with Through a Day and a Night. Thankfully, I saw this, and I put an Orc in Dol Guldur, and an Isengard regular in Orthanc. Again, beefing up Orthanc. Not really sure why. It's one of those things where would I have rather used that muster to bring the Southrons to war? Absolutely, but I can't due to this threat. And I ended up being correct, so I'm happy I did that. He plays Axe and Bow. Saruman falls out of his tower, but he comes back, and I move reinforcements out to Fords. He plays Faramir, so this is the downside of going for a sideline kind of pincer attack on Gondor, is Osgiliath remains untouched, and if they get some mustering in Pelargir and or Faramir, yeah, like if you start double mustering regulars in Pelargir and Lossarnach, and then you move them all into Osgiliath, now you're the one that's caged in as Shadow, right? You're in their territory, surrounded. It'd be worse if Rohan was fine, but thankfully I'm taking care of them. I play Palantir, basically just to steal a ring, which he does. And I draw a character card. Did I really have anything to play? I sure didn't. Fair enough. Now he grabs Elrond. A little weird, because I'm pretty sure Galadriel's die didn't roll a star. Yeah, it didn't. I wonder what his plan is with that. I say is like I didn't play the game, but hey, I can only remember so much. I have limited space. A Balrog has come, so I activate the Balrog. So that is kind of one benefit of going northeast, is you do have overall more distance from the Balrog, I suppose. But they're not moving. And another thing, they're predictable. So if I wanted to put him in the way, I 100% can. Like, they will go to Old Forest, they will go down this southern route unless they want to make their trek 12 spaces, which would be like game momentum suicide. He mustered an elite into Lorien. Covered his dice a little early, but I moved my Fords guys into Helm's Deep, and I moved the North Dunland Uruk-hai into Moria because I'm definitely seeing military. Again, had I not seen the Dol Guldur Through a Day and a Night, I'd be in big trouble because I have nobody to take that back. Not with the elves on standby. And all you have to do is muster like 2 more elites in Lorien and just balls to the wall. Maybe have Rivendell back them up and just go for Moria. And there's no way I can get 10 points. So he draws Ents in Grimbjorn. And I draw Lidless Eye and Madness and Horror. Wow. So Madness and Horror. So with Madness and Horror, it's pretty bad. Right, it's an extremely niche card where when free people have conquered a stronghold, you can bully them a little bit. More importantly, I'm looking at the 3 dice that hits on 5-ups. Is that really going to do anything? Probably not, but it's something. Yeah, and even just getting 2 orcs when you're trying to retake one of your strongholds is... Ugh. Yeah, I don't know. It's more of a Swarm of Bats thing. I kept it with the idea that I can't think of any other relevant time it would be used in a game like this, so I decided to keep it. Allocate an eye, roll no more, and he finally gets his characters. And we make a bit of an oopsie here, I can see in hindsight, where he doesn't actually select one of his keeper die to choose. So if you have to only use one of them, and the other one goes back into your like casualty pool for next turn. Which one he would have taken? I would imagine the army, probably, considering he's going clearly for military, but can't say for sure. He moves, he's safe. I play the Fighting Urukai. So the idea is, am I going to win this battle? Pretty much guaranteed. However, with the amount of time and energy I've spent into consolidating this Dol Guldur army and Moria army and Orthanc army, like this is a big investment. I want to maximize its use by preserving just activate like health. And yeah, I start with Strife because there's no way he can counter it on turn 1 with Fighting Urukai. That's the benefit of those cards. They can't play a card with no companion. So throw your greatest thing out there. You're not going to get daylighted. You're not going to get anything else. So I just kill him immediately. 5 hits. That's how much health he had. And he gets 4 back, expected. But overall, taking 4 hits in 1 round instead of prolonging this to 3-4 rounds, way better. And I drew into the Shadow Lengthens. The least, it's not as good, but it's still very good. And Rohan is officially routed. One thing to keep in mind that I worry about is Riders of Theoden with Gandalf. He could technically go to Fords, play Riders, and then try to reconquer Helm's Deep. Or even if I leave 2 or so in Helm's Deep, he could attack West Eminent and then start mustering Rohan elites. It's a very annoying card. So if you technically want to be super efficient, you'd kind of leave a regular in Fords as if you were like Path of the Woses in Gondor, but... And then I choose to get rid of Power Too Great. I think the idea is I want to pivot this Witch King army north. So I burned Day Without Dawn and Lore of the Elven Rings. Lore, very happy to get rid of. Day Without Dawn, I'm happy to get rid of it. At least it accomplished something, and now they're going to think I have it always. Better than playing it with combat. So yeah, maybe some might think I'm insane getting rid of Day Without Dawn instead of Madness and Horror, but again, Day Without Dawn, it's full value you obtain without ever putting it on the table. It's just it's like the last game I played. I burned a ring just to change a will result, even though he didn't have the card. Like it's stuff like that makes them make decisions. He moves again, he's hit, and it's a 1 reveal. So I'm not exactly putting resources into the Fellowship. However, Captain of Despair is just doing its own thing, which is why it's so absurdly strong. So I'm very happy to see that despite minimum resource allocation, Frodo's still getting hit a little bit. Okay, I muster an elite in Moria. Again, this is a win-win. I'm defending against military, and I'm also prepping for Lorien. Because here's the thing. If I go for Lorien, I make it obvious, right? There's a possibility he pre-musters, and then I can pivot to Rivendell. This is kind of playing on your opponent's knowledge of the game, like how much they want to pre-muster. Maybe they feel like they don't have enough time once they're under siege. Maybe they might roll the wrong dice. There's plenty of things that go into that. Alright, so I move the Balrog out with my newfound elite, and I move the Witch King northwards, and he spends that army die to ditch Gandalf and Parth Celebrant and focus up Erebor. Honestly, I would have been half tempted to get that Pelargir Gondorian into Osgiliath and then just throw hands at Minas Tirith. Obviously, you would want help unlooked for, but I mean, it's a 5 health army against a 10. You're going to lose, but you're going to buy Minas Tirith enough time to where that army is suddenly just worthless. They're not going to be able to get the job done, so now Shadow has to waste dice to get reinforcements. You know, all that. Like I talked about in my previous video, it's very much buying time. Alright, so I pick up that orc from West Emnet, and then I move in the East Emnet, and I start getting the South runs ready. He moves a third time, draws an eye, so 2 hits, 2 reveal. He's thinking about burning Galadriel, probably. 100%, I get it, you want Galadriel for Mordor, where the eyes are more dangerous, but if an eye is doing 2 damage to you, pre-Mordor, I think get rid of it. Yeah, he randoms and he gets Strider. So here's the turning point. So things weren't looking very great for me, right? Rohan went very well. Lorien looks ridiculous. Now that it has that Rohan regular in there. Gondor's prepped, right? It's a full Minas Tirith. Osgiliath is big. South runs are 2 away from wars, so Dol Amroth's going to be big, I'm sure. My points are not easy. So Strider getting pulled on a random just absolutely flipped the momentum. I get why he did it, however, I definitely would have used Galadriel there. Right, so here's what I'm thinking here. So I'm attacking Minas Tirith, looks a little weird. Here's what I'm thinking. I have Shadow Lengthens here, so I can move 2 armies up to 2 spaces. You may have noticed, I positioned this Witch King army right here in East Emnet. It is 2 spaces from this Balrog army, and it is 2 spaces from Minas Tirith. So the idea is, let's test the waters. Let's see how this Minas Tirith battle goes. Because there's always just the possibility, I do, 2 rounds of combat, I roll 2 6s on each round. I just do 4 hits. Suddenly, Minas Tirith is looking doable. So then I can pivot the Witch King up north and start moving Mordor to back up my Minas Tirith army. So I have both options. I want to see which one's more efficient depending on how this first round of combat goes. I don't play a card. I could have played Swarm, but I don't get very much value from the reroll if he doesn't play a card. But he does play Confusion. Thankfully, I don't roll any, and I get 1 hit. He gets 1 hit. So I press, again, just trying to eat some bodies up. No card, no card. I get 1 hit. And he gets 3. So there it is. There it goes. Not happening. So that Witch King army is not going to Lorien. It is going to reinforce that Gondor army before Osgiliath makes some problems. So he thinks for a while. He goes back and forth. And he begins reinforcing Gondor. Now, I 100, 1,000, 5,000,000% would have attacked Minas Tirith from Osgiliath. It's 4 health against 5. Yeah, you're banking on dice, but you have advantageous position. That's probably the only card. Yeah, that's the only card that's going to help you here. But it's a good card. They're only hitting you on 6s for that first round. It's the defending army has to be in a region, so they can do that from Osgiliath. It's possible I'd swarm about it, but still, that's a great attack. You get 2 hits. Am I going to stay? I'd probably have to retreat to Druiden Forest, and then you just reinforce Minas Tirith to a ridiculous degree. But he opts to muster. I was just given a victory point. Am I dumb? Oh, yeah, Edders. Okay, and then I play Shadow Lengthens, and I reinforce that Minas Tirith army. So that opportunity he had is long gone now. However, the fact that Witch King had to go south, that pretty much murdered the potential for Lorien, right? I'm not going to be able to take Lorien. It's probably a mistake in the long run going for it. Again, it's more so a bait to make him waste musters than it was an actual attack, and that's very risky, right? You're just kind of depending on your opponent not making the right move. But notably, with my second Shadow Lengthens, I move that Balrog and 1 orc to Dol Guldur. So you can probably see what I'm trying to do here. I'm going to try to get that Balrog over there to the Fellowship, because even if because he's going to hide next turn. He's not going to burn a ring just to hide. So I'm 100% going to be able to get the Balrog on him unless he kills him with a will, which wastes 1 of his dice, which is perfect. And yeah, now he does the thing I was talking about prior, which I think it's way too late to do. Right? Like that is a huge army in Minas Tirith right now. That is a, 14 health army. Now, help unlooked for would be absolutely, like, skull-crushing. But he does burn a ring with Elrond to get the die back, because he wants to threaten that attack. Is Osgiliath going to get completely murdered? Absolutely. Honestly, I think letting him do it to me would actually not even be that big of a deal. I get a cycle. I kill this army that's posted up in a fortification. However, I see this, and my brain immediately shouts, help unlooked for. He has 2 strategy cards. There's a possibility. I'm terrified, so I need to destroy Minas Tirith now. So I attack. I swarm of bats, get the full value. I roll 3 hits, and swarm of bats does nothing. So, very lucky on the 6s there. He rolls 2 back. I press draw. I draw Onslaught and Orcs Multiplying, which is great to defend against military. I don't see Gundabad being a target, but it'll certainly help Dol Guldur if it comes to that. Onslaught's also good to have. I might just burn it. Yeah, I think I am. Yep. Just, again, scared of help unlooked for. It doesn't even have that much value, but still, rolling 3 dice, if he were to play it and I didn't kill these guys, like, I get 1 hit. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't do my leader reroll. So, again, 3 6s just with my rolls, so very lucky on that. And he only did 1 back. So suddenly, I'm at 5 victory points. Frodo is still 3 spaces away from Mordor. Wall revealed. It's the tide has turned for sure. Like, nobody expected Gondor to fold like that with all that time he had to prep. He plays... Oh, jeez. Okay, yeah, so he plays Book to go to Fangorn. So we can all see where this is going. Yeah, I don't... Where else would you spend the muster, right? I mean, I'm a big fan of preemptive mustering when it comes to very valuable targets. Woodland Realm is probably the biggest. Woodland Realm and Dol Amroth are the 2 biggest when it comes to preemptive mustering, where when you see the attack coming, there's typically nothing you can do about it. So it's good to just get it done, right? I would say all he has to really do is move that Osgiliath army towards Pelargir and just kind of naturally shift it to Dol Amroth. But what is he going to do with the other move? It's not much productive movement to be had at the moment. Yeah, I don't know. But he opts to try to kill Saruman. You gotta respect that. Alright, so despite him using 2 keeper dice that turn, he did get rid of the Elrond dice, so all in all, it really did was give him an extra card draw. I don't think it's the end of the world. Mistakes happen. I didn't catch it either, so... Okay, so he draws Red Arrow, and another Scouts, and Mithril Coat. And then I drew Monsters Rouse and Foul Thing. Great character card, and a Desperate Battle. Happy to see it. Monsters Rouse also can certainly have value if I wanted to pivot to Rivendell. But with the Balrog chilling in Dol Guldur, it's not likely. So I allocate an eye, roll 2 more. He rolls an eye with Galadriel. And so his keeper die were way worse than mine were. That's 100% factual. But his rolls, again, just consistent 2 movement. So had Strider been alive right now, could have made it to Mordor this turn. It would have been painful with 4 eyes, but... Okay, so he starts with Ents, because he doesn't want me to muster an elite in there, and he only gets 1 hit. So very, very unlucky. I 100% respect the attempt, though. Those are the fun things I love. Like hell, with Book of Mazarbel, he could have even went to the Balrog and killed him, which my opponent did know about. Yeah, I told him, I said, with a movement like that, where you burn a whole dice just to move Gandalf back to Fangorn, I just assumed he had two end cards. You know, expecting 2 coin flips out of 3, it's technically above average, so I wouldn't bank too much on it, but again, I can really respect the attempt. That's really fun. I muster the Southrons down. He passes. I do it again. Funny enough, he doesn't use the will. You know, that's actually really detrimental without Strider, because if I took that will with Day Without Dawn, you wouldn't even move this turn unless you burn a ring. So he mustered in Dol Amroth. Now that I have my Southrons to war, I play Lure the Ring, draw Mary. I don't know if he actually gets the move. Yeah, it just says eliminate him, so yeah, he can move one space. Not that he's doing much good there, but he finally hides, and now that he's hidden, I opt to move the Balrog on top of them and pivot my Nazgul around. So let's see, I opted for 3 in the south, and I kept Minas Tirith strong because the army's so massive, I need to pivot that Minas Tirith army to Dol Amroth 100%. I put too many resources into making it so big, I can't just let it sit there and hold it. And that is one benefit of this Osgiliath army. They're kind of holding me hostage. But Gondor is the one nation where you can't really hold Shadow hostage because Mordor's right there and the Southrons are right there. Like reinforcements, at least on the outskirts, anything other than Dol Amroth are very easy to come by. So I'm just going to slam in the Gondor as hard as I can. Get my 3 points from them, and then try to find my 2 elsewhere. Which Do is looking great because it's 3 nations, only one's at war. Okay, he puts another elite in Dol Amroth. Considering I have a ring, that's definitely the right call. I can character into Umbar and then burn a ring to Corsairs if I had it. But the downside of him not moving is I got to burn 2 character dice, moving them to West Arondor. So now there's an extra 2 eyes in the pool. Now, once I got to 5, it didn't matter, but still. So he moves. Obviously, he's not going to kill the Balrog with the will because he didn't get the move this turn, so he has to move. I get 3 hits and just a 2. So down goes Boromir. And then I play Foul Thing. You can get an eye. Oh boy. I remember being very upset about that. So it's 7, 8. It was 9 tiles, 2 out of 9. It was a 2 out of 9 chance to draw an eye on that. Yeah, very unfortunate. That's what, like slightly more than 20%, I think, something like that. It's not end of the world statistic breaking, but still hurt. Okay, I got the gates are closed. Perfect timing. And Hill Trolls, again, fantastic cards. No real dead ones. You know, even Lore the Elven Ring still got to be used for something productive. And then Elven Cloaks and Thranduil. So, real quick, I just want to say, like, while it wasn't, when I took out Power 2 Great, it wasn't like I was going to attack that turn. However, you never want to let that sit because it's going to kind of screw you in the future, right? You just let that card sit there, and unless you have a guaranteed, like, full plan in action where you're going to get your 10 points without attacking the elves at all, you want to get rid of it when you have the time. It's really going to help you in the future. He declares. Alright, so when he declared, you know, the Balrog's there, right? So I say Balrog draw. And obviously this isn't going to translate in replay, but I waited, I think, probably 4 or 5 seconds or so before I drew, because if he didn't want to declare, I would have let him take it back. But then I drew the tile, and after I drew the tile, he had said, what? And I explained to him that when you declare or reveal, so he didn't catch on to that. Just Lords of Middle-earth kind of rule error. If we were in a normal game, I would have just said, okay, that's fine, like you didn't know. However, in a tournament, I gave him the amount of time to take it back. Like, you're not technically supposed to take it back anyway, but I would have. However, I drew the tile. Once the tile was drawn, you know, you can't take back things. But, you know, he's not salty or anything upset about it. It's all, he's a really great opponent, so I'm really happy. I got to go against him. He was fine the first time too. Oh, and then he gets confused. He thinks the Balrog will die. I tell him no, it's only with eyes. Again, it's people don't play Lords, so it's a learning experience for most. I'm one of the probably few people. I can think of like 4 people on the server that are known for playing Lords. Now, granted, I don't play as much as others, but I'm one of them, honestly. I prefer it vastly. That's why I don't have many games in, because not many people play it. Ones that come to mind are Rompsteel, Wander and Womb. People that really, really love Lords. But that's why I love the tournament, because it gives me a chance to finally play it. Okay, so I allocate 9, roll 1 more. He rolls 3 wills. Really regretting getting rid of Day Without Dawn now. Usually the way it goes. But he doesn't know that. He thinks I'm rocking it right now. But again, he doesn't do anything drastic like I did. He doesn't burn Galadriel's ring to get rid of one of them, which is the right call. He moves. He's safe. I turn a muster into a character with Elrond, with Elrond's ring, to move a Balrog and a Nazgul onto Frodo. And that's the only adjustment I make. So, 2 things. 3, actually. The character goes into the hunt box. The Balrog is going to draw another tile if he gets revealed, or when he declares at the end of the, or beginning of next turn. And if he kills the Balrog with a will, I still have the Nazgul giving me a leadership. So no matter what, that character movement wasn't completely, like, worthless. I'll be rolling 5 dice on 5s. There's a good chance I'll hit him, even if he kills the Balrog. But he musters he moves Osgiliath to Pelargir. Right, so this is actually, I was extremely happy to see this, right? Because that Osgiliath army was holding me hostage in Minas Tirith. And considering he's going to get into Mordor this turn, that was actually slowing me down. Was it easy to counter? Yes, but I had no time. And he does something really clever here. He moves 3 regulars to Druden Forest. I personally would have brought way more. And it's something I didn't even see, to be honest. I think you could have been fine with just putting an elite in Pelargir with the leader. And then, yeah, you bring 5 regulars to Druden. Because all of a sudden, I'm now in panic mode when I see this, right? Because it's all he has to do is take back Fold, and then it's Muster City. The Rohirrim are coming back, and they're going to hit hard. But with just 3 regulars, I immediately snuff out this potential. I'm like, no. We can't have this. So I attack Druden Forest from Witch King. Use the opportunity to cycle a card. I'm assuming he's going to scout it. So I just play We Come to Kill. Nothing too crazy. And I was correct. He did scout it. Put an orc there. He retreats to Western Emyn, which is interesting. He doesn't go to Osgiliath. Yeah. He wants to commit to being annoying, which I can respect heavily. That's my goal as free people. As long as those 3 regulars are near Rohan, I'm kind of just, I feel like I'm saying it a lot, but just held hostage. Like, I have to put resources into defending it. Like, if I just move those 2 regulars in East Emnet to help defend something, it just makes it even more likely he can walk in. All he has to do is retake 1 settlement, and things can get really bad. Okay, passes. I put the gates are closed in. Again, another mistake, in my opinion, is I get what it's just my opinion, because what he did with Pelargir and the Druden Forest, that was a good move. He wanted to do it before the Southrons attacked it, or else that Osgiliath army is just kind of stuck there. I think that was a good thing to do, to keep them stuck there, but that's me. However, because he waited on his second move, I could play the gates are closed. He passes again. So now, yep, I move this Minas Tirith out, army out, and then I move an elite back into Moria. So I have just so many stupid, wasted movements in the middle of the board here. But there's just this giant Cate Blanchett army staring at me, and I am so scared of her, as I should be. Like, they just haven't moved. It's like Michael Myers levels of intimidation, where you're just waiting. for something to happen, the stinger. But they're just standing there menacingly. So I'm fearing for my life. I'm fearing some Lorien Rivendell team up, tag team action. But he moves, and the Nazgul and or Balrog, whichever you want to believe, is the one who got the hit on the reroll. And it's a 3. So he takes 1 corruption, Legolas bites it, and he is now at effective 2 corruption, so he's not looking great. Considering I didn't get Chief, I didn't really allocate resources. You know, the Balrog moving to Dol Guldur was kind of its something I could have done with Shadow Gathers. It wasn't Shadow Lengthens. It wasn't something I really went out of my way to do. I think the only thing I did go out of my way to do was burning that ring to get the Balrog back on them and putting it in the pool. Alright, so I attack Pelargir from the Southrons. No card. I get 1 hit. He gets none. I press. He musters a leader in Dol Amroth and a leader in Lamedon. Alright, so anybody with a brain will tell you, please just leave Dol Amroth alone. But, like, listen, if I consolidate these 2 armies, oh man, like, my army's just as ridiculous as his is. So this is just a pure just slap fight of whose army wants to withstand more punishment. Okay, so, yep, as I move... Yep, as I move to combine my armies, I take over Lossarnach, another thing that can be overlooked. It's a very annoying region. You don't want them to go crazy with it. I leave Leet in Osgiliath, which is really weird, but remember, he has 3 regulars in Western MMUL. You know, those 3 regulars, like, they can do a lot. So if I just put 1 orc in Osgiliath, right, he's rolling 3 dice. I'm rolling 1. Like, even with the city bonus, or whatever it is, I forget what it's, the actual fortification, I'm probably going to lose. So, let's just play it safe. I want Elite. He can go to Pelargir, he can go to Minister, whatever needs to be done. Bigger threat is Rohan right now. Saruman's got a whopping 1 Uruk-hai with him. So, I'm feeling paranoia everywhere. He plays Elven Cloaks with his will. So, here's the thing where... Definitely should have killed the Balrog here, and I'm fairly confident at the end of the game we discussed it. I don't think he knew he could. Granted, yeah, getting the blue in is also good, but taking that extra tile was rough. Let's look at the hunt pool. Yeah, that hunt pool is gone. Yep. Like, he's pretty much guaranteed guaranteed to get revealed into Mornon, which is going to draw a tile, which is also gates or close is going to trigger from the declare alone. So this is going to be really, really painful. So you might as well minimize that pain. Then again, getting another blue, you have 3 in there, right, or 2 in there before this one. Like, the hunt pool is going to be so small that the value of blues are heavily buffed. So I muster another elite because I really don't want to lose my die. And I'm looking at those 3 regulars. So again, win-win. I'm trying to be efficient. It protects Helm's Deep from getting reconquered, and it lets me breathe easy from Ents. He gets Wizard's Staff, hoorah, and Help Unlooked For very late. However, if he gets that Lamedon army into Eric, yeah, it's just more time wasting. And I get the Ring Is Mine and Horde from the East. So another Deadly Strife. Very lucky. I still have 13 cards in my strategy deck, so I'm happy I got 2 Deadly Strives. Okay. So I confirm with him he's declaring into Mordor. Obviously he is, but, you know, it's good manners to just kind of say. And he even says, yeah, it's going to hurt. We do it a little out of order. Technically, he's supposed to already be in Mornon, but it doesn't make a difference. So technically, he was already in Mornon. He gets a 0 reveal from the Balrog after the declaration is finished. So that reveals him into Mornon, and then I draw 1 from Gates first, which is another 0, and then the Stronghold, which is a 1. Right, so he didn't take a lot of damage, but look at that Humple. I hate those games. So that Humple's going to look disgusting. I don't remember who it was. I almost want to say it was Romsteel. I had a game where I was down the Golem, and I had like 2 tiles left in the hunt. And I purposefully revealed myself into Minas Morgul, because I think there was like, to get the last tile out. No, what I did, okay, I remember. I revealed into Minas Morgul to reduce the damage, drew another tile, and then there were still 2 tiles left. So, and then I hid, and then I moved again while in Minas Morgul. He was very confused, and it was just like, I think I was at like 9 corruption or something, and if I went into Mordor with 9 corruption, a single 3 tile, and 4 eyes, and all his reds he put in, like, that's the game. I'm done. So I figured my best shot at winning was to move, despite already being in Minas Morgul, hopefully draw the 3, and then reduce the damage by 1 to reveal, and then the whole hunt pool gets reshuffled. Yeah, it was insane. It was insanity. But anyway, let's get back on track here. Okay, so that's what our hunt pool's looking like. 3 blues, 1 red. On the bright side, like he's gonna get a blue. Like, it's almost guaranteed. I allocate 2 eyes. I want those eyes to hurt when he hits them. Roll 1 more, and he rolls I swear the same roll he's rolled the entire game. Hides with the character. Very risky. It's like almost like he knows I got rid of Day Without Dawn. I'm not saying he knew. I'm just saying, like, it seems that way. It's very odd. Okay, I attack Lamedon with a character to put it in the pool. He scouts again, so that one I wasn't expecting. I figured because Dol Amroth was buffed, I figured he kind of just wanted a fight to try to reduce my numbers a little. Because he's not going to go under siege, of course. He makes no difference. More surprisingly, he doesn't scouts to Eric, because he has help unlooked for. Now, granted, like, this is the best use of help unlooked for, because if I attacked Eric, you could retreat to Enfilos, and still use it. So, but he opted to just shore up the stronghold. At the end of the day, does he really need to do crazy things like that? I redraw into Shadow's Gather, so probably going to need that. He puts another regular in Dull Armor. This man or woman is a psycho. I love it. He's a psycho. He just said, alright, let's brawl. He said, I didn't hear no bell. And then I put a red in. Again, just trying to punish him for not moving. He passes. Yep, I burn another ring. So these are pretty unnecessary ring burns, but I'm trying to maximize the value of Captain of Despair. So I attack DA with a character. He stays. He plays no quarter. I play Deadly Strife. So the idea for me is I'm hitting them in a field battle. If I were to get 5 hits, he would technically lose value. Right? He would take 2 regulars and then an elite, and then downgrade an elite. So he'd go into the stronghold not at full strength. And this is the time to do it because I hit on 3s. But he plays no quarter, so it's going to really hurt. So I only roll 4, and he rolls 6. Yeah. So, he technically lost some value going into the stronghold, but it was only 1 health point. 1 health point of value. I lost a lot. I redraw into Many Kings. But at least I get to put the character in the pool. Plays Mithril Coat. I play Many Kings. I shore up. Oh, I completely missed it. I think I drew Corsairs of Umbar. Yeah, so I shore up Umbar and the East. And that probably also... I think I still would have done it without Corsairs, but that also influenced my Deadly Strife decision. Like, these people are super expendable. because I have the two cards actually that can reinforce such an out-of-the-way siege. Literally the two perfect cards. The downside of that is I don't have much combat card potential when I need to use both of those cards for their effect. He moves, he gets an eye, so this is exactly what I wanted. So this is a 5 reveal. So he can take 3 of that, but he opts to use Galadriel's ring. I also would do this, and then I draw another eye. So not exactly unexpected considering the pool. Like the pool is what, 7, 8, 9, 10. When I pulled that second tile, 4 of those are eyes, so it's still like a coin flip. And he does something crazy. He burns Mithril, and he gets the -2. So when the ring is mine is in the pool, I would never burn Mithril on an eye. I know it hurts, but at least you're getting some Hobbit value. You're only going to 8 corruption. I mean, it ended up being the right call here for the most part, assuming he doesn't hit a red in the future. Like, at least he got the -2, so he got rewarded for double killing the eyes. All right. Like, because if it was a 0, I don't think that would have been worth it. But he got the 1 tile that really made such an expensive turn worth it. But I go ahead and I play Corsairs, which gives me that free attack. I'm really worried about Círdan because the Elven Force Pool is pretty much untouched. Emerhill is not going to be too valuable, but still. So I actually go ahead and I burn the Shadows Gather. Yeah, if there's 3 regulars in Western MMUL weren't there, this would be really stupid. But I'm thinking, like, with those guys there, they can walk into Osgiliath, take Pelargir. Granted, they can't muster much, but who am I going to retake that with? Like, I need every victory point I have. So, right now, priority, get rid of this Dol Amroth. It's going to be a hard fight. He's got 3 leadership, but... So I rolled really bad. Only 1 hit. Thankfully, he only rolled 2. So oh, sorry if that was a little loud. He didn't roll good either. He only got 2 because of his card. I stop. I get new Powers Rising, Great Host. Unlikely that's going to benefit me. He moves the dwarves down. Not sure why. I can't remember what die he had. He had a muster. I guess it's the concept of what else am I going to do with this muster. Me personally, I'd probably start putting elites in the Woodland Realm. At least 1. Just so if they go for Dale for that final point, I have something to fight with. But with a many kings reinforced Easterling army, yeah, dude's not looking very great. I guess he might be thinking I'm going to go for Erebor for my final 2 points. But yeah, that makes sense. But if he gets the Dwarves the War, I'm going to go elsewhere. Because at the end of the day, Many Kings, while yes, it did make that Easterling army scary, it was really more so to reinforce Umbar. So I attack DA again, no card. I get 2 hits, which is lucky. He gets 3, which is also painful, but more expected considering his leadership. And I stop. Again, I'm just trying to slowly tackle this thing down. I know my limits here. I played my reinforcement card. I have to win with this army. So I have 8 health. He has 4. So I'm still statistically about average in this combat right now. He gets Elven Rope and Emerhill. Oh my lord. What a draw. 16 strategy cards in his deck, and he got Emerhill. Granted, Círdan's would be worse. So I guess it's more so like 2 out of 16, so a 1 in 8 chance to draw a really good card that would help with this combat. This is like the pivotal combat at the moment. So I draw Candles and Musterings of Long Planned War. Okay. I allocate 2 eyes, roll 1 more, and he rolls the cursed roll of Mordor. Plays Emerhill immediately. Granted, he only gets a regular. He doesn't have any more leaders left, so it did only get him 1 health, but suddenly that average statistical combat I had going for me is worse. I do the same thing I've been doing the whole game, apparently. Every ring I did the same thing with, I believe. Where I use a character, or sorry, I use a ring to turn something I could have used. I could have used the Palantir to just play this, but no, I want that character in the box to play candles. I want to do it now, before, because very likely the next move he's going to lose both Gimli and Pippin. I only roll 1 hit. A little unfortunate, but better than 0, right? Puts Elven Rope in, which makes sense. I don't have any more die to do anything bad. I don't even have any character cards left. So he's put all 4 blues in. But still, that's what, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's 4 out of 10 are eyes. 5 out of 10 just bad tiles in general. Yep. So it really is just one of those coin flip Mordors, which is probably really lucky for him at the end of the day, considering how messed up he was. Like, those blues are really coming in. Like, they came at the right time. Look at his deck. He's got 18 character cards left. I think you start at, what, 28 in Lords? So the fact he got all 4 blues, that really is helping him out. And Mithril. And there is another way. Yeah, he's got them all except Bilbo's. So I attack, DA. I play Desperate Battle. One, 2, 3. Yeah, 3 hits. I don't know why I was confused by that. He rolls 5. So that is extremely unlucky for me. 5 hits. Granted, it was like a deadly strife. But wow. I mean, I'm thankful for my 3. That was pretty good luck for me too. So we both got lucky on that roll. So now I'm rocking 3 Southrons. Things are not looking good for me at this point. He moves and he gets the red 1. So that is what I needed, right? This is constantly just a tale of military going very poorly due to either my own incompetence or just bad rolls. Probably a combination, more so the former. But something dumb happens with the hunt. Now, granted, is it really crazy? Not really. There's no freaking tiles in the pool. Like, if he didn't pull a red, that'd just been depressing. But at least he got Pippin. So he didn't take corruption, it just slowed him down. So at this point, I have to unfortunately waddle this stupid troll from Osgiliath all the way to Dol Amroth. But I figured, okay, well, let's spend that time, be productive, get that Easterling army, get up there, start scaring them. He rolled no musters, so as long as I don't hit Iron Hills, he can't muster anything next turn. Unfortunately, I'm 1 die short. Had I had a 3rd die, I could actually hit Iron Hills and then go in, but he probably would have used the will to muster, so. Again, no fear whatsoever of Day Without Dawn from him. Okay, he hides. Yep, I moved to Vale Carnan and reinforced Dol Amroth. And he attacks Druiden Forest with those 3 regulars, so suddenly the fear is back about him reconquering Fold, mustering 2 elites, reconquering Edoras, or just marching the Helm's Deep, honestly. So he rolled 2 hits, and I rolled nothing. At this point, I'm cursing my luck. So the best thing I can do at this moment is move them in the fold. At least it's an even fight. Because if he tries to move up the East Eminent, right, I have reinforcements in Orthanc that can come out and just attack him in West Eminent once he gets there. Then he has to retreat to either Fangorn or East Eminent again. So it's a big waste of time for him, more so than me. And then I move my Minas Morgul army to South Ithilien because I see the potential. Now that Troll's gone, I have to protect Pelargir. Again, I need every point. Alright, if I were to conquer Dol Amroth, I just need another stronghold. I'm not going to be able to hold Dale. And the Shire is pretty much out of my reach. I don't have any cards that'll help me grab the Shire. Like, I have New Powers Rising, but that's so many dice I'm going to have to spend. So you may notice also I didn't actually get the mouth. Maybe that's a mistake, but I can't think of any wasted movements I did. I needed that troll. I needed to reinforce Fold, and I needed that Easterling army to be a threat for victory points. But that's just my opinion. Frustratingly, he draws King Brandsman and Great Company, which one useless, one really good. And then I get Stormcrow and Nazgul Search. So character cards are not on point for me this game. They've been kind of average. I allocate 1 eye, I roll 0 more, which is the opposite of what I wanted. And then he rolls just 1 movement. So he got kind of a similar roll that I did last game, where with 5 dice, so it's worse for him. Yeah, he just got 1 movement. Granted, he has theirs another way, so as long as Gimli dies, he'll be okay. And then, yeah, we get a eye, so perfect time to get an eye, just a 1 reveal. Gimli goes, and we get Gollum. Alright, so I say thinking, so oh my god, I didn't even realize the 4 Palantirs have returned. So if I got one of those rolls, you know, freaking 6 hybrids, 2 armies, you know, one of those, like, it probably would be game, but I didn't. So I'm looking at what I got, and I'm thinking, okay, what can I do? I'm counting the die. Do I need to win this turn? What are the odds of him destroying the ring next turn? Well, he's got 5 dice. I usually assume the worst, but I'm like, in my head, I'm like, there's no way he has theirs another way right now. Like, did not go through his character deck enough. He had Mithril, he had 4 blues. There's no way he has it. He does. But at least he has Wizard's Staff to kind of balance out the nonsense. So I'm thinking, okay, he needs, what, 1, 2, 3, 4. He needs 4 movements next turn, and none of them can be a reveal. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 out of 8. Every move is going to be a coin flip if he gets revealed or not. Oh, I'm sorry. No, the 2 doesn't count, so it's even worse. Just 3. Yep, so 3 out of 8. So slightly less than 50% of him to get revealed. But again, every time he doesn't get revealed, the odds go up. So if he has theirs another way, I think it's very likely he can win, because then he only needs 3 movements, 4 if he gets revealed once. And if he gets a red, he loses. That's obvious, but it's 1 in 8, so. So I'm thinking, okay, I probably don't need to win this turn, but I need to try, because if I get super screwed by dice next turn, or just by the Mordor Hunt pool, it's game over. Because at the end of the day, the game is very luck dependent. However, when you need to try to minimize that luck as much as possible. I think the best way to minimize that luck is just to win this turn. No matter how far-fetched it seems, I need to go for that plan. So I'd stare at all of these dice I have, and I really start to try to formulate something. Okay, so first stop. Yeah, so all of my movements are going to look really weird because I came up with a plan. It all relates to one end goal. So first I move the Moria Elite into North Dunland. I don't think military is a threat anymore, which ended up biting him in the butt because he has this huge Lorien army that he did nothing with. Right? He wasn't holding one of my giant armies hostage, you know, just to keep Lorien in check. Like, it's been like 1 orc standing in front of them, and they've full-on committed to the lore and decided to just stay put. And then I moved the South Athelian to Osgiliath. I don't know if I said that. Just because he has 2 hybrids. He can just walk right to Pelargir, and suddenly my 1 precious victory point is gone, and I can't have that. He plays King Bran and redraws in the Guards of the Citadel. I think, so I saw that, and King Bran does nothing to defend Dale, really. However, what it does do is let him draw a new strategy card. So suddenly Círdan and his glorious beard flashed through my head like a strobe light, and I'm like, DA needs to go. It's part of the plan. I need to kill DA. So I play Great Host. I just need one hit. I don't get it. He gets 2. I start to cry. Great Host doesn't even trigger. Oh my god. It's so insane. So, and then I draw a character card. And for all his luck and his character card draws, granted I'm way further in my decks than he is, I'm so happy to see Dreadful Spells. That it is like the saving grace. Because once that attack with Great Host completely failed, completely against like what I could have expected, my plan was shot. But however, I do get Dreadful Spells, and suddenly my hope is reinvigorated. I play it. I do have 4 Nazgul there, not 5. And I roll this nonsense, so they're dead. And yeah, they're upset. It's one of those gimmick cards. It's never discredit a small Shadow Force due to just really finicky, gimmicky cards like that. And honestly, I would have been terrified to do another combat, because one sudden strike with those 3 leaders, ugh. So that Dreadful Spell is just, I couldn't ask for anything better. Very lucky. Right, so he reinforces Woodland Realm now with an elite. I play New Powers Rising. Okay, so he moves to Dale. And the North Downs unit moves down to the Shire. So, with everything that's going on, if it's not obvious, I'm not going to win this turn. It just wasn't going to happen with the Dol Amroth Siege. So my plan didn't fail. I just had to keep my points secured and move on from there. So, big mistake. I almost forgot to say this. I believe he's already played Thranduil's Archers as a combat for Valor. He made a huge error here. So I already did my 2 moves. So I moved from Vale of the Carnan to Northern Ravanian, I believe. Yeah, and I moved my New Powers Rising South Dunland to North Dunland. Had I had Black Captain or Ring Rates Are Abroad, I would have won the game, because he didn't have scouts. Right, all I would have to do is Black Captain or Ring Rates to this Northern Ravanian army after the move I just did into Old Forest Road. Definitely burn whatever Relentless Assault. So I hit on, if I miss 5 coin flips and 5, or not even way better than coin flips, it'd be 5 dice on 3 ups. Like if I miss that, then fair enough, I lose. Like I'll just let the game win at that point. But unlikely. I'd kill him, use my character die now that I have leadership to walk right in the Woodland Realm. Game over. I believe he says at the end of the game he realized he did that after like he cleared the die and I was already moving units. You know, once I move units, no takebacks at that point, because then it's just like, oh, like you just did something that made me realize I could lose. Can I take it back, please? Like, unfortunately not. But thankfully for him, I did not have any of those cards, despite how far into my character deck I am. I don't think I burned one before, because I value those cards a lot. I would have remembered. But he plays theirs another way, so now I'm full panic mode. I'm like, oh no. Oh no. So I just draw a character card. I think I'm just looking for reds at this point. Like, he only needs 3 characters for a shot to win out of 5 die. It's looking very likely for me. My master planning is not paying off, I say sarcastically. So I move. I'm thinking, okay, I have to try to go for Woodland Realm. At this point, I did muster this big army in North Dunland, so I'm going to use that as well. So it's kind of 50-50 split my Nazgul. Had I known, I don't remember the die I had. Probably should have gotten them out this turn for sure. But I think I was just trying to use every die to my potential. I get Nazgul Strike. He gets, the way there. He gets Swords and Ariador, which is great for him. And I get Shadows on the Misty Mountains. The moment I see Shadow, something clicks. So I'm just praying with this dice roll. I'm like, please. I allocate 1 eye. Perfect. I roll no more. That's exactly what I wanted, because I'm not corrupting him. And he rolls that, and I feel terrible for that. Like, yeah, that's so unfortunate. Like, he doesn't even say anything. Like, what did I say in my last 3 Palantirs, 2 hybrids? It's awful. Like, what the odds of him getting 3 to 4 movement? You know, they were above average, but getting 0, and just not having the hybrids to play the game, it's rough. Like, those 3 regulars could maybe get something done. Now, granted, with new power, now Orthank's huge, you know, but they could still potentially retake Edoras. There's a chance, but you just don't have a chance when you roll a bunch of Palantirs. It's very unfortunate for him. He does shore up. Oh, sorry. Yep, he says thinking. I tell him to take his time because I get it. It's plays Swords and Ariador. Probably saying it wrong. Gets Rangers of the North. Good card, not particularly relevant because I'm playing around it like most people do. It's like a little ghoul in the background. So I look at all my die. I think, okay, what's the best way to win? I figure it out. So I muster the mouth finally, the alternate mouth in Moria. He plays Rangers of the North. I mean, what else is he going to do? Yeah, there's nothing. He has Wizard Staff and Grey Company, like the 2 worst character cards in the game. Guards does nothing. That, like, literally all of his cards do absolutely nothing. And he rolled like 3 Palantirs. Ugh. So he plays Rangers. Honestly, if I were him, I would just keep drawing, because what's Rangers really going to do? Gets 2 hits into the Witch King. Musters a... Honestly, I would have saved it, because if I were going for the Shire, that'd be the perfect time to use it, because you could at least reinforce the Shire. And Shire would be pretty tough at that point. What, 3 elites if he gets that Buckland elite in there? So I play Shadows on the Misty Mountains. He passes. And I congregate those 2 armies in Moria, North Dunland. I tip my hand. He knows where I'm going now. But he's being held against his will right now because Thranduil's is played. He has 2 hybrids. So one of those is going to be putting an elite in the Rivendell guaranteed. So he does that now. But he can't spend the other one to put another elite in, which would make this battle extremely difficult due to the Witch King's army's placement. At any point, all I have to do is attack twice and take Woodland Realm. So he has to save that last hybrid in order to move Dale back in before I take it. I use the mouth ability on the muster, which is just a character result with the alternate mouth. Move in the Troll Shawls, and then I go ahead and attack Rivendell. Right. So, still, I don't have an attack with this Palantir, but I'm not going to let him know that. I'm going to try to get him to use his die first. So, he draws a strategy card. He's definitely looking for Kindred of Glorfindel. I can't recall if he had it before. I'm assuming that's what he's looking for. It's either that or he's just fishing for combat cards, like I was. So he gets Círdan's way too late, but Charge is probably the best stronghold to have Charge in. And here's where I was tempted to attack Old Forest Road, because that would make it so had he drawn Kindred, he'd have to move them into Woodland Realm, therefore he couldn't play it. But I'm sacrificing an attack on Rivendell, and considering this alternate mouth gives me a free press, I'm technically sacrificing health by not using every dice to attack with, right? I'm getting a free press every time I attack, so that's 2 free presses if I use 2 different dice. I think the value was just insane. So I'm very thankful, actually, that I didn't muster the mouth earlier, because if I put him maybe in Minas Morgul due to how bad Dol Amroth was going, he would not be in the siege, and he's the key to this. Also, I'm not lying. It might seem that way, but I'm not. I did put 3 Nazgul in North Dunland because I expected the mouth to help them out. So I got an even 5. The Shadows on the Misty Mountains adds a little. So I attack Rivendell. He plays Charge. I play Foul Stench. Fantastic. It's really rare you see Foul Stench actually do something on the equal leadership part instead of the access or excess. So we're perfectly even, but I cancel his leadership because of it. He gets 1 hit on the charge. Sudden strike would be terrifying. Okay, I get 1 hit. He gets 2. Perfectly average so far. I do my free press. I play Black Breath to try to kill Glorfindel. I'm assuming that's who that is. And he plays another charge. Gets no hits on the charge. And I roll 3 hits, so very lucky. But he gets 2, so it's still a battle. It's a bloody one. And then I remind him to take his leader. And I press. So I think the reason I press is because I'm scared of Kindred or Glorfindel. So if he had that card, I might be totally stupid and he already played it, but I don't want to check and try to mess up the recording. But if he played it, that's 4 health against 6. And I have no cards that really help me that much. Like, this is a close battle. So I figured, okay, play it safe. Let's assume he has it. Let's just press. So I play Fear of Their Masters now. So I talked about this card earlier. So I'm forfeiting my leadership and making all my combats coin flips. I need to succeed 2 coin flips. Five out of those 5, I need 2. So I think it's a good play instead of banking on 6s on 10 dice. And he plays Brave Stand, so now I'm only rolling 4, which is significant. Right? That's a whole other coin flip I'm missing out on. And I fail. I only roll 1. I do a dramatic just 1 because I am so upset. But yep, and he gets 1 back. So that ends the siege. Now, granted, if he doesn't have Kindred, I'm still in good shape here. Not the best, but I get that free press, which is game-changing. He didn't have Kindred, so he musters the dwarves. I sigh the biggest breath of relief, and then I remind myself, okay, I'm about to roll 16 dice. I need 1 6. I've been in this situation before. So I draw a strategy card. I get Devilry of Orthanc. Extremely lucky. And he says nothing he can do except pray, so I attack. I play Devilry, so I'm hitting on 5s. And I get the hit. And it's GG. Another fantastic game. Super unlucky with Gollum. Again, is it likely he'd destroy the ring? It's honestly just a complete crapshoot. Like, there's no way to know. The hunt pool is so 50-50. Like, he wouldn't be corruption, but these eyes will reveal him. These 2 eyes. So he'd move. It's a 3 out of 8 shot. Oh, and notably, I have We Shall Get It. Right? A card that gets overlooked often. So the odds of him destroying the ring this turn were very low. He unfortunately only had 1 movement the turn prior. So in 10 dice, he rolled 2 movement. And that's just the way the game goes sometimes. You play really well. I think he did everything he could have possibly done. You know, he made that 1 error up here, but it ended up not costing him much. He defended Gondor very well. He kept the pressure on Rohan. Honestly, the biggest misplay is just getting this Lorien army the way it is and letting it sit there. Like, they could have marched south, right? Like, you could have mustered another elite in there at some point, just march south while keeping Lorien at least at 3 HP. And just, would it go crazy? Probably not. But all you need to do is retake 1 of these settlements, and then you start mustering Rohan, who has a full force pool. You have to do something with him, and he did roll a lot of musters and hybrids, so there was the possibility for something like that. I don't know how much mustering the dwarves to war was really worth it at the end, but overall, yeah, he played fantastic. I definitely didn't do the best, I don't think. I think the Rohan pivot was just an unfortunate circumstance. I don't know if I could have just not done that. It's awkward going for them first. But, you know, careful planning. It was a stressful one due to just Lorien standing there. Like, at the end of the day, them standing there did just cause me so much, made me waste a lot of die. You know, I remember the elite that came out to Dimmeldale with the Balrog and then walked back, and then they walked to Northumberland, then they walked to Holland. So a lot of wasted movements. Was not very efficient whatsoever. So the hunt luck certainly helped me out by the end, despite him getting that -2. Like, at the end of the day, it still went very well for me, right? It's, look at all these ones that were pulled. So, but great game. That secures me round 1 of the tournament. So I will see you all next time.